Okay, so here we have our flybarless rotor head, and the first job is to install the pitch arms, which basically just screw into there like so, and the same on the other side. Put those in with some Loctite. Okay, the next thing you must do is take apart the rotor head, and the reason you do that is because the line does not put any Loctite on these two feathering spindle bolts. They'll be in there really tight and you might think that it is Loctited, but it's not at all. The other thing is you need to grease the dampers once you've taken the blade grips off, and also you need to get some silicone grease down in the grips to the thrust races. Now if your grips are anything like mine, the radial bearings are extremely reluctant to come out, and short of heating them up so that they drop out, one thing you can do, as long as you don't want a bit of mess, is on the end of a screwdriver just put the grease down inside and work it around, and it will make its way into the thrust bearings that way. The only issue with doing things that way is that you end up with quite a lot of grease then inside the grips, so when you install them back onto the feathering shaft you're going to get grease around the ends of the feathering spindle here, so you'll just need to clean that all up once you've got it back on there. One way to keep muck out of the grips themselves is to put just a cap headed bolt in the end there, if you've got one of the right size, that is, because these are pretty hefty, so that you can then just insert that back through the grip and no grease will go down inside. Okay, so once you've had your head apart, greased everything up, got the feathering spindle bolts out, cleaned the feathering spindle out, Loctited it all back together again, it'll look something like this. And then we can put that to one side and start looking at the other parts that we need to work on. So, swash plate is one. All the balls need to come off of this, be Loctited and put back on again. The other is the swash lock, which I have here. All of these little screws here need to come out, get Loctited, and this one here, take that out, Loctite it, put it back in again. This one, make sure there's a washer here, it goes through there and through there, and this basically is the pinch clamp that we're going to clamp this onto our main mast with. So you can see the little gap there where it's going to pinch clamp on. Obviously we need our main mast as well, and we will be needing the spacers that go with the main mast to make sure that we haven't got any end play or vertical play in our main shaft when it is mounted onto the frames. And basically at this point what we want to do is we want to install all of this stuff onto our main shaft. So I'll start doing that and we can go through it step by step. Okay, so here's our main shaft. If you look closely, it will have a line 700 FL written on it. Now that bit is the bit that inserts down into your frames. The top bit, which is shorter, is the bit where you put the swash plate on first and then your swash lock with just the one arm. The other arm we've still got off to one side here, we haven't put that on yet. And then our head block basically seats onto that like that, and it goes all the way in, because what you'll notice is there are two holes in the main shaft, one here and one here, and there are two holes in your head block, one in the side there and one in the side there, and basically when you push it all the way on you'll find that basically those holes, those holes will line up like that, so you can see through there, that's lined up, as you can see, and then when you look down here you can see that one lined up as well. And then we double bolt it to hold the head onto the main shaft. So I'll go ahead and do that. Okay, so when you've done that, it's going to look like this. You've got your main Jesus bolt going through with a nylock nut on the other side, and then you've got a bolt in either side with thread lock on it holding that whole head unit on, the swash lock mechanism and our swash plate. Now the swash lock needs to be 2 millimeters below the bottom of the head block, so you want a gap of 2 millimeters, and that's where we want to lock that into place. So some Loctite onto this piece, oops, there we go, that piece, just trying to fall apart in my hands, there we go, that bit, some Loctite on that, insert that in there, do it up tight, leaving a gap of 2mm between it and the head block. Okay, so there you see mine installed. That can't move, it's nicely locked in place. And with our down links, which actually I think are the wrong side, but I'll have to adjust those and make sure they're the right side. Okay, so with a bit of adjustment you should end up with something that looks a bit like this. You can see the 2mm gap at the top there. The down links here are connected to the longer balls on the centre of the swash plate. The shorter balls are for the up links to the blade grips, which we've got to make the rods up for just yet. And that's pretty much it. That's the swash plate complete. We've now got to make the links up to the top here, and then we're in a position to install this into our frames. Okay, so there we have our linkages installed. You can see. And the length here is 50.5mm between the plastic of each ball link. And these links go on the shorter ball on the swash plate. The down links go on the longer ball. Okay, so that's the upper part of our head installed. I've put the head button on as well, but that's going to have to come off for us to do the fly bliss setup anyway. So that can now be installed into our frames.